Are you done?
Hey yo, what is happening guys, this is REDXIII coming at you with another video. So today we are going to be talking about Final Fantasy VII Remake and the interview with Kitase. So let's just dive straight into it because there's some great news for part 2 and a few more other stuff, so let's check it out. As you can see right here, inside the Final Fantasy VII Remake team, familiar yet new adaptation of the classic. I'll leave a link in the description. There's a little bit tidbits right there in the beginning, but I'm gonna dive straight into the questions because hey, that's what we're here for, am I right lads? Let's dive into it. So right here, as you can see, the game has a few major departures from the original. How did you decide with the areas and the characters should be expanded upon, and what moments should stay the same? This is what the interviewer asked Hamaguchi, and Hamaguchi said right here, there are many aspects that are somewhat departures from the original, but we aim to deliver a game experience that players would find familiar yet new. Or rather completely new. We wanted to not have to cut away from the characters as much as in the original game, where you would really be traversing across fixed screens rather than areas. By filling these gaps and making them traversal more realistic, we really wanted to create a deeper level of immersion, and of course that gives us more time and moments with the characters. And then it continues on by saying, paying homage to the source material served as a basis, but the original game is over 20 years old, and the way in which many aspects were depicted back then could seem either outdated or unsuitable for this day and age. As such, there are many locations in which challenged ourselves to largely remake the presentation while maintaining the essence of the original. This includes Walmart, the train graveyard, and the Sector 7 pillar. We took areas that could not be fully expressed, but then now focused on reimagining those locations. Very interesting stuff. I really do like how they wanted it to feel new yet similar. I really do like that. Now let's get to the next part, and right here we are going to see them actually talk about the section. So are there any sections of the original that were deemed sacred and not subject to change? Kitase said, we didn't lay out any rules in particular, but maintaining elements that remain in memories of fans is an understanding shared among the entire team that worked on the game. And then the next question is, the Honeybee Inn section of the game has been lauded for how it was handled. Was this particularly challenging subject to approach given crucial differences between the 1990s and today? How did you approach the update in this section? Hamaguchi said, from an ethical perspective, it's true that we needed to be more mindful in our portrayal compared to the time of the original release. Therefore, we decided largely reimagining the events that unfold throughout Walmart, including the Honeybee Inn. We felt let's make it highly entertaining and increase the showbiz aspect of the setting. The French Moulin Rouge and Japanese burlesqueries serviced as reference material as we worked in enhancing the Honeybee Inn through the dance battle. In essence, we're paying homage to the enchantment of Walmart, so I believe we were able to make the area feel familiar yet new, rather than a bit departure from the source material. It did feel amazing. I do agree with them on this. It did feel amazing and very, very modernized compared to the original, so I'm happy about that. Now we're going to get on to a little bit of Sephiroth. As you can see right here, Sephiroth over here. Sephiroth has significantly expanded role in the Midgar section of the narrative. Why did you decide to give him more screen time earlier on than in the original? Kitase said, it goes without saying that nobody knew the Final Fantasy story would unfold at the time of the original release. In order to heighten the threat of Sephiroth, the antagonist, we had a conscious decision to not show Sephiroth towards the first half of the game. This approach is similar to the storytelling found in mystery novels seeking out the culprit, and is also a production approach taken by the movie Jaws to heighten the looming threat. However, with Final Fantasy VII Remake, we knew that many fans were already familiar with Sephiroth, and we determined the same approach to the production without being as meaningful. Instead, we wanted to make it clear that his presence as a source and threat is one that dominates throughout the remake project, and landed on the direction of having him approach from the beginning in a manner that would leave the lasting impressions. Oh, that was great. Now let's go to REDXIII. So REDXIII isn't playable character within the game. Why was that decision made? REDXIII, Hamaguchi says, approaches towards the latter half of the game, so he felt was insufficient time to really develop his character in a way that players would enjoy playing as him. That being said, I do feel it was extremely important to build and establish the relationship between Cloud, the crew, and REDXIII when considering future developments within the story. So for the early stages, we had determined to use him as a starting point in the level design to complete the area around Hojo's research lab. The location appears towards the end of this game. For those who felt disappointed about REDXIII not being playable in this installment, it would make me happy if you look forward to the next game. So therefore, REDXIII is playable in the next game. The teases, I tell ya. There are a lot of nods to the original in this remake, but also to the other classic Final Fantasy titles. What's your favorite Easter egg? Are there any fans haven't caught yet? Hamaguchi said, I think my favorite nod to the original is where Cloud and Aerith make their way through the rooftops and the barrett of the abandoned slum houses after escaping the church. The same scene exists in the original, and I felt the sense of Cloud and Aerith getting to know each other was expressed well through that sequence. One of my favorite sequences in the game, actually, so I completely agree with this. Portraying a more realistic with the modern technology available to us over the original, allowing us to really take in the scenery of the slums and Midgar. Even as a person who created the game, I remember how it felt both familiar and new during development, and how it goes thinking, so this is what the surrounding scenery looked like when Aerith and Cloud were making their way through the area within the original game. Perhaps harder to recognize homage to the original would be again at the church. Between the time Cloud falls and the church and appears of Reno, the players can freely roam around inside during that time. If the player moves to the area around the church's exit, they will hear Reno considerately say the following: "Hang back, we're not in any hurry." This is actually a line that was implemented in the original, and the team would be working on this location, proposed to include this in the remake, so it found in the source material. So basically, we did miss a line. We did miss a line, but yeah, that's how it goes. Now we're gonna go on to the next part, and it includes my boy Roche. I still don't know how you pronounce it. Is it Roche, Roche? I don't know. I'm an idiot. So, where did the idea to include new characters like Roche, Chadley, etc. into the narrative come from? Hamaguchi said there are many characters depicted in the compilation of the Final Fantasy VII Remake project, Final Fantasy VII projects such as Before Crisis, Crisis Core, Dirge of Cerberus, and Advent Children, and titles that made an appearance in the Final Fantasy VII Remake. But Roche and Chanley were originally proposed by the game design team, and we had requested our writer Mr. Nojima to incorporate them into the scenario. Regarding Roche, we originally considered making him a boss that concludes the motorcycle minigame as you head towards Sector 7. That said, we thought his originally as a character could pan into something interesting, and decided to use his appearance in the motorcycle minigame as foreshadowing. We expanded on this by making him the boss for Sector 7-6 Annex. In the cutscene, a strange bond of sorts can be seen forming between Cloud and Roche. I am also personally interested in seeing how things are going to unfold between them in the future, so Roche in future titles confirmed, hell yeah! Regarding Chandley, we want to include content in which material could be obtained through mission rewards in parallel to the main story progression. Considering lore, we came up with a role that would make him a researcher and working for Shinra. Then we get this right here. I believe this is the final part of the second last part of the interview, so let's dive straight into it. It regards Best Girl Jessie, and we have this right here. So Jessie has become a fan favorite. Did you know the player would connect so strongly with a character who had such a minor presence within the original game? Katase said, "I did imagine this would happen to a certain extent." He watches my videos. After the original game released, she was also a favorite character of ours, so it was Director Nomura's desire for the early stages to want to depict the three Avalanche members, Jess, Biggs and Wedge, in depth. As a result, Mr. Nojima's distinctive dialogue, the voice cast performance, and the cutscene team's wonderful direction, we were able to successfully depict her as a captivating character. I can't read, guys. And then finally, the music of Final Fantasy VII is a great mix of the original soundtrack, remixes and new tracks. How did that come together? What was Nobuo Uematsu's involvement? Katase said Mr. Uematsu expressed a strong desire to compose a main theme, a vocal track, for this game that did not exist in the original, as we wanted to include a dynamic soundtrack that matches the action narrative on screen. It requires a very large volume of new arrangements and new music for the new section. Therefore, the arrangements for many of the in-game music has been entrusted to composers that have had a connection with Final Fantasy and also trusted by Mr. Uematsu and me. In turn, we asked Mr. Uematsu to focus on the production of the main theme, which we believe resulted in a wonderful track imbued with soul. This interview has been edited and condensed for clarity. So yeah, that was basically the interview. So what basically happened in this interview, we got confirmed that Sephiroth is going to be a frequent occurrence within the remake project. We also going to get more Roche or Roche, whatever you want to call him, more of him in the remake. He's going to be in future titles, which is pretty cool. REDXIII is going to be playable, and also by this aspect I think they'll add more characters going forward, and also they'll expand more upon characters who were minor within the original. I want to see how they expand upon Vincent, Lucretia, as well as Dean. I think Dean would be, or Dine, whatever you call him, Dean would be an amazing character to expand upon. Just amazing stuff that was in this interview. And again, I'm going to leave this in the link in the description below so you guys can check it out for yourself. Anyway guys, that is it for this video. Leave a like, helps me a lot. Comment down in the comment section down below what you guys think. Share with friends, sharing is caring, and most importantly, subscribe to become a fellow lightning bolt. Anyway guys, that is it for this video, and as always, this is the Lightning Shade. Blaze out.